The movie opens in the dead of night. A young woman named Melanie is seen running frantically through the dimly lit basement of an old facility. Her breathing is ragged, her steps quick and desperate. Something is chasing her, something inhuman. From the shadows, faint snarls echo through the walls. These are wendigos, monstrous creatures born of cursed hunger. Melanie tries to stay quiet, pressing her hand against the cold stone walls, but every creak of wood and every shuffle of her shoes draws their attention closer. She spots a narrow passage leading deeper underground, a hidden path carved out like a secret tunnel. Without thinking, she rushes into it, hoping it will take her out of this nightmare. Her flashlight flickers as she stumbles through the passage, and finally, the air changes. She emerges into the woods, gulping fresh night air. But she doesn't get the relief she expects. Out there in the dark forest, another predator is waiting. A tall man wearing a hunter's coat, carrying a rifle with a long scope, steps out from the shadows. His name is the Marksman, a ruthless serial killer. Before Melanie can react, he seizes her. She screams, fights back, but he overpowers her with terrifying ease. And then, without hesitation, he murders her right there under the cover of the trees. The screen cuts to black. This brutal scene marks the beginning of the story. 1 year later, we shift to a car driving along a quiet road. Inside are 5 young adults, each carrying their own emotions tied to the tragedy. In the driver's seat is Clover, Melanie's younger sister. Her eyes are heavy with the weight of unresolved grief. Sitting beside her is Max, her ex-boyfriend, still sharing a tense connection with her. Behind them are Megan, a psychic friend who believes she can sense spirits, Nina, another close friend, and Abe, Nina's boyfriend. This trip is not just a journey into the unknown. It is a mission. They are determined to find answers about Melanie's disappearance. For Clover, this isn't just a road trip. It is personal, a chance to either find her sister alive or uncover the truth about her fate. On their way, they watch an old video Melanie had sent Clover before she vanished. In the video, Melanie stands outside a rundown place called Herdless Store. Her face is pale, her eyes uneasy. The group realizes this could be the last clue to where she was before disappearing. Clover decides that's where they'll begin. Megan, however, insists that before doing anything, they should try to sense Melanie's presence in the area. She believes her psychic abilities might reveal what happened. Though skeptical, the others agree. They gather, close their eyes, and wait for Megan to channel any energy. But nothing comes. Megan shakes her head. She feels no spirit, no presence. Clover grows impatient and takes matters into her own hands. She steps inside the store. Inside, she meets the owner, a quiet man named Hill. His eyes are sharp, almost too observant. Clover explains she's looking for her sister. Hill denies ever seeing Melanie, asking, "When did she go missing?" Clover freezes. She never mentioned that Melanie was missing. The fact that he knew unsettles her. When she confronts him about it, Hill simply shrugs and says that people often disappear in this region. He warns her about a place nearby, known as Glore Valley. "Strange things happen there," he mutters. "Don't go near it." His words only fuel Clover's determination. Back outside, the group debates. Nina and Abe argue they should leave immediately, but Clover insists they must head into Glore Valley. Despite the heavy rain pouring around them, they push forward. Visibility drops, rain blinding their path. Nina begs them to turn back. Just as everyone is about to agree, they notice something strange. On one side of the road, it's raining heavily. But just a few steps across, on the other side, the ground is dry and calm. They stand in shock, watching the line between storm and silence divide the forest. Intrigued, they step onto the rainless side. Instantly, the atmosphere shifts. The air feels different, heavier. Abe checks his phone for a signal, but there is none. Uneasy, he starts recording everything, hoping to capture proof of this bizarre phenomenon. Soon, a large structure appears in the distance. At first glance, it looks like a house. They approach carefully. As they get closer, Clover lingers near the tree line, staring back into the stormy side of the woods. She thinks she sees something, or someone. The others call her inside, but her eyes remain locked on the rain. The house turns out to be more than it seems. It's a hotel, abandoned yet strangely preserved. They explore its eerie halls. Nina stumbles upon a beautiful sand clock displayed on a shelf, though it's broken and unmoving. Meanwhile, outside, Clover catches sight of a familiar figure in the rain. Her heart skips a beat. It's Melanie, standing among the downpour. Without hesitation, she runs toward her, with Max chasing after her. But when Max reaches her, Clover realizes she never left the hotel grounds. It was only an illusion pulling her deeper. Inside the hotel, Abe makes a disturbing discovery. On the walls are posters of missing people. Faces stare back, dozens of them, including one shocking image, the film director's own face among the lost. Nina, still wandering, opens the guest register. She finds that some people wrote their names over and over, multiple times across different dates. One name catches her eye: Melanie. Her name has been signed repeatedly. Panic grips Clover when Abe shows her Melanie's missing poster, confirming she was last seen in Glore Valley. Nina looks down at the sand clock again. This time it isn't still. It ticks steadily, counting down exactly 1 hour. The sound fills the air as if marking their fate. Outside, the rain halts abruptly, leaving a silence that chills the group to their core. Moments later, they hear noises coming from their car parked outside. The engine roars to life on its own, headlights flashing. Terrified, they retreat back into the hotel. Exploring deeper, they come across a locked room. Inside, a dusty radio sits atop a desk. Desperate, they try to contact anyone beyond the valley, but the static drowns their cries for help. Suddenly, a figure emerges, the marksman. His presence is overwhelming. Without hesitation, he slaughters Abe in cold blood. Nina's screams echo through the hall as panic spreads. Max throws himself at the killer, but he too is struck down, his body collapsing lifelessly. Megan attempts to escape, but is caught and killed as well. Clover, trembling yet defiant, drives a knife into the marksman's body, but it does nothing. He remains unfazed, unstoppable. She flees into the woods, stumbling through the mud. Just as she sees Melanie's face again, hope lighting in her eyes, the marksman plunges his blade into her back. Her scream fades into the night. The sand clock reaches 0. The glass empties, and then impossibly it resets. Time loops back. The group finds themselves alive once again, standing in the very same hotel. The horror repeats. This time, they begin to realize what's happening. Nina writes her name again in the register and notices that her signature now appears twice. Megan finds herself alone in the bathroom as before. Abe stares at the posters, and Clover and Max wander the rainless forest edge. Slowly, fragments of memory return. They remember dying. They remember the pain. And yet here they stand again. Now their own faces are appearing on the missing posters. Fear becomes unbearable. What kind of nightmare forces them to relive their deaths? Lights in the hotel flicker wildly, something that didn't happen before. The group gathers, terrified. They hear the front door creaking open and shut on its own, as though beckoning them outside. They slam it shut, barricading themselves inside. Desperate, they plan to use their car to escape, but Megan begins to act strangely. Her voice rises in a scream, her behavior erratic. Suddenly, the lights cut out. When they return, Megan is gone. Searching for her, they find themselves in the poster room once more. Megan appears there, but something is horribly wrong. Her body convulses as the faces from the posters seem to merge with her spirit. Voices cry out from within her, begging for release. Megan screams, snapping her own neck in front of them. Horror washes over everyone. They realize she will return again after the reset. But what does that mean for her soul? A knock comes at the door. Silence follows. They hesitate to open it. Then a familiar voice calls from outside, Melanie's voice. Clover rushes out, desperate, but the doorway is empty. Instead, a new house appears in the distance, one they've never seen before. As Clover stares, something grips her and drags her inside. The others remain trapped in the hotel. Max refuses to abandon her and decides to find her. Abe tells Nina that they should escape instead, but the forest has other plans. Outside, a towering Wendigo emerges, forcing them back into the hotel in terror. Nina turns, only to find Abe already dead. The monster finishes her next. Meanwhile, Max ventures into the strange new house. What he finds inside is more disturbing than anything yet. The house is filled with grotesque imagery, symbols scrawled across walls, and in its center sits an old woman. She approaches Clover, her face covered with an oxygen mask. A television in the room shows reports about Glore Valley being buried under a mining collapse decades ago. The woman speaks cryptically, telling Clover that she will either leave alive or become one of them. She presses the oxygen mask onto Clover, forcing her essence into her. The old woman's body crumbles to dust, and Clover begins to laugh unnaturally, her voice twisting into something unhuman. Max arrives too late, watching in horror. Upstairs, a rocking chair creaks by itself, a doll perched on top. As Max kicks it away, Clover emerges transformed. Without hesitation, she murders him. Later, she stumbles out of the house, only to be struck by a speeding car. Her soul drifts away as the sand clock resets once more. The story continues deep in the Blackwood Mountain Lodge, where the group of friends is still reeling from fear, suspicion, and the mysteries that refuse to let them rest. Night grows darker, storms outside rage harder, and trust within the group shatters further. Matt and Emily find themselves stranded at the cable car station, far from the lodge and with limited options. Their tension is palpable. Emily wants to get to the fire tower she believes can signal for help, while Matt struggles between caution and desperation. As they cross a dangerous, snowy cliffside path, arguments flare up. Emily's sharp words sting, but beneath her frustration, there's undeniable fear. At one point, the path gives way beneath her, and Matt must decide whether to risk his own safety to save her or keep moving. Every choice weighs heavily. One misstep could cost a life. Back at the lodge, Ashley and Chris venture into the basement after hearing unsettling noises. The flicker of their flashlights cuts across dusty furniture and long shadows. Suddenly, the lights go out, and a terrifying vision appears. A ghostly woman, pale and twisted, gliding silently across the corridor. Ashley gasps, trembling, convinced that a spirit is trying to warn them. Chris, skeptical but shaken, follows her deeper into the darkness. Their investigation leads them to old newspapers, photographs, and journals hinting at a dreadful family tragedy. The Washington family's history filled with hidden madness, secrets, and dark experiments. Meanwhile, Jessica, who had gone missing earlier after being dragged away, is revealed to still be alive, barely. She lies bruised and bloodied deep in the mine shafts, surrounded by echoes of dripping water and the screech of bats. Her breathing is shallow, and she struggles to move. Each faint groan from her lips reminds us of the horrors that still await below. Back on the mountain paths, Matt and Emily finally reach the fire tower, standing tall against the blizzard like a last beacon of hope. Inside, Emily works frantically with the radio equipment, trying to contact the authorities. Static crackles endlessly until at last, a faint voice answers. Emergency services, picking up their distress signal. Relief flickers in Emily's eyes, but it is short-lived. The responders warn that they cannot reach them until dawn, and worse, something massive has been spotted moving in their area. Before they can process this, the tower begins to shake violently. The wooden beams groan as if under attack, and suddenly the entire structure collapses, plunging them into the snowy abyss below. Back at the lodge, the others regroup, only to find that Josh is missing. Their search leads them to the old workshop hidden beneath the lodge, where they discover disturbing evidence, a shrine of masks, bloody tools, and twisted props. Chris and Ashley are then captured by an unknown figure wearing a macabre mask. When they regain consciousness, they find themselves tied to chairs, facing each other across a table of sharp, rusted saws and deadly contraptions. A voice through speakers taunts them, forcing Chris to make an unthinkable choice: kill Ashley or kill himself. The tension peaks as the saw begins to move. Chris, trembling and crying, tries to find a way out. At the last moment, the trap resets, revealing it was all a sadistic game. The masked figure unmasks himself. It's Josh. Alive, grinning, and utterly unstable. His laughter fills the room as the group stares in shock. He confesses that all of the pranks, the traps, and the horror they've faced so far were orchestrated by him. His motive? Revenge. He blames them for the disappearance of his sisters, Hannah and Beth, who vanished a year ago after a cruel prank gone wrong. His twisted mind has turned grief into cruelty, and he wanted his so-called friends to suffer just as he did. Terrifying sight of the Wendigo up close. The creature moves with unnatural agility, its body grotesquely twisted, its jaw unhinging wider than any humans should. Mike barely escapes with his life, but he gains clarity. This is no game anymore. Josh's cruelty is overshadowed by something primal and ancient that hungers for them all. Back at the psychiatric office, Dr. Hill's sessions with Josh grow more disturbing. The doctor berates him, calling out his delusions and fractured psyche. But the lines between reality and hallucination blur. At one point, Dr. Hill vanishes, revealing that these sessions exist only inside Josh's tormented mind. His guilt over his sister's disappearance and his twisted revenge fantasies have spiraled into a mental collapse, leaving him vulnerable to the horrors around him. The final act begins with chaos. The group, fractured and weary, must decide whether to stay together or split apart. The Wendigos, now revealed in full, strike with merciless speed. One by one, the friends are hunted, chased through the lodge, the mines, and the snowy wilderness. Choices made earlier, whether to help or abandon, whether to trust or betray, determine who survives and who falls prey to the creatures. In a climactic showdown inside the lodge, the remaining survivors realize fire is the only weapon against the wendigos. They set traps, barricade doors, and fight for their lives as the creatures smash through windows and crawl across ceilings. The air fills with screams, breaking wood, and the monstrous roars of the wendigos. In the final desperate moment, one of the survivors triggers an explosion, engulfing the lodge in flames. The wendigos shriek as fire consumes them, their cursed forms burning in the inferno. As the screen fades, dawn finally breaks across the mountain. Snow glitters in pale morning light as helicopters arrive to rescue the survivors. Exhausted, broken, and traumatized, the few who remain are carried away from the nightmare. Yet the horror lingers. Jessica's fate in the mines, Josh's descent into madness, and the knowledge that the Wendigo curse may never truly die. The story closes on a haunting note. In the charred ruins of the lodge, deep beneath the mountain, shadows still stir. The Wendigo curse lives on, waiting for the next unfortunate soul who dares to awaken it.